وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today inshallah ta'ala we will be conducting our second session from the parables of the Quran, the Amthal al-Quran, the examples in the Quran which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us to help facilitate our understanding of the various messages that He has given us in there. Last week we looked at some of the first amthal that are mentioned in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the munafiqeen. And today inshallah ta'ala we will look at another set of amthal which are also in Surah Al-Baqara, but much later towards the end in the third juz, from verse 261. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about spending over here, spending for the sake of Allah. And He starts off by mentioning the reward for those who spend for the sake of Allah. He says that their example, and this is the first example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in this discussion. In total, in the set of verses that we will look at inshallah, there are 4 different examples that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses here. The first one, He says, the example of those who spend their wealth in the path of Allah for the sake of Allah is like that of a seed which grows 7 ears, and in each ear there are 100 seeds. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ يُضَاعِفُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies further for whomsoever He wishes. وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. So, from the very start, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that He's not just saying that your reward is multiplied by this many, but giving us an example of grains, something we can visualize and understand where one grain would be, one seed would be compared to 700 seeds. That is the reward in general that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us for spending. Now, when it comes to spending, we have to be mindful of a few things to assure that that spending is according to the manner of spending that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. The first is that the spending must be from pure wealth. As we're going to see in a verse later, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَنْفِقُوا مِنْ طَيِّبَاتِ مَا كَسَبْتُمْ. That pure, that halal, permissible earnings that a person has, you spend that for the sake of Allah. If anyone has any impermissible earnings, then spending that for the sake of Allah won't get them any reward, because it's coming from a place of impurity to start with. Secondly, the intention of the person giving it must be correct. And that is, the person is giving it solely for the sake of Allah. And there are many elements that apply to that. We're going to talk about that in the upcoming verses, inshallah. And the third element is that the one you're giving it to must be someone who is eligible or rightful to receive that. Right? We know that in zakat there are very strict guidelines who can't receive it. But in sadaqah, in donations in general, it should be given to a place of need. Right? A person gives sadaqah to a person who is very rich, there won't be much reward in that because they're not fulfilling someone's need through that. So if these conditions are fulfilled, then that is the sadaqah, the giving that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to here. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains further. He says, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, those who spend their wealth for the sake of Allah, ثُمَّ لَا يُتْبِعُونَ مَا أَنْفَقُوا, then they don't follow their spending with 2 things. He says, مَنًّا وَلَا أَذَى. Those are the ones, لَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, they are the ones who will get this reward. What is man and adha? Man, in simple terms, it means to remind someone of your favors. And adha means a harm. We'll talk about what that could look like. In man, The idea is that once you have given to someone, you are not going to remind them of that now. This is something that we are all guilty of and we do all the time. When we do someone a favor, maybe not right away, but at some point in the future, we're going to say, remember, I did that for you? You needed this. I did it for you. Now do this for me. The second we do something like that, our ikhlas is out the door. We can no longer say that I did this for the sake of Allah, because you didn't. You did it because so this person is indebted to you, and now you're collecting on that debt. And the same way on the flip side, we should not be giving to someone just because they gave to us. They gave us something. And now we feel indebted that I have to give. Because now what's happening, if you're giving, you are only giving to make that person see you as someone who is also capable of giving, just as they were when they gave you. So to have an intention of something being sincerely for the sake of Allah, must be free from any such elements. If there's anything there where you, in that spending, in that helping, you expect to get something back from that, no matter how minor or minute that thing may be, the reward for your sadaqah, your spending is gone immediately. The second one is adha, harm. Now, how do you harm someone through your spending? Mufassirin mentioned a few different things how this can apply. One is you spend in a way where it's going to harm people for onwards, in a cause or something which instead of helping people is going to cause some harm. That could be anything, any example you can think of. The other one, meaning of adha, is to belittle someone when you give them, or give it in a way that they will feel bad for taking it. Whether that be through something you say to them, or whether it be the reason why you're giving it. Anything like that, with the person who is taking it, they will feel that, I'm at a lower level than you. You're giving me, I feel bad, I feel small, I'm taking it from you. If you are the one that is causing them to feel that, then again, your reward is all lost. Because you're doing that means that you're spending to make that person see you as better than them. You want that person to see you as better than them, thereby putting them down. And these two are very closely connected, man and adha, where if you remind someone that you gave them, right away they will feel bad. They will feel belittled that yes, you gave me, that's true. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us two elements here that are extremely common with us when we help others. It's a human nature, when we give something, we always expect to get something back from it. But to establish that practice of being it solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is something difficult to do, but it is extremely important. That is where this reward, a reward as immense as 700 times for one action, that sincerity, that purity must be there. And especially nowadays in Ramadan, this is multiplied even more, even further. For every action in Ramadan, some hadith say 70 times, some say from 10 up to 700 times. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning us that don't follow your spending with man and adha. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذًى. To say a good word or to forgive someone is better than any sadaqah that follows some harm, that has some adha in it, like we talked about. Meaning your etiquette, your dealings with people, the way you speak to them, You're overlooking their faults, you're forgiving them. That is even more important than if you're going to spend on them, you're going to give them, but then you're going to follow it with these things that I gave you and I did this and I did that. Or you're giving them in a way to make them feel bad. That, okay, fine, I know you're really in need, right? You're desperate, so I'm going to give you some money. Here you go. Right? Any sense like that, anything that a person adds just to the, besides the mere giving of the wealth, that's it. Give it and forget about it. Any other element that exists in there, it will spoil the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says again, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni wal adha. O you who believe, don't nullify your sadaqahs through man and adha. And in this statement, we can see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, La tubtilu, don't make it invalid. Don't nullify it. Meaning, if you have any of these elements in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sight, it's like you didn't even give the wealth, let alone getting any reward for it or anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives an example. كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ, second example in the set of ayat. كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ مَالَهُ رِيَاءَ النَّاسِ وَلَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Like the example of the one who spends their wealth to show people and does not believe in Allah and the last day. فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ. The example of this person is like the example of a rock. كَمَثَلِ صَفْوَانٍ, a smooth rock. عَلَيْهِ تُرَابٌ. There is some dirt, some dust on it. فَأَصَابَهَا وَابِلٌ فَتَرَكَهُ صَلْدًا. A heavy rainfall falls on that rock, wipes away all the dirt, and nothing else left after that. لَا يَقْدِرُونَ عَلَى شَيْءٍ مِمَّا كَسَبُوا. They're not able to retain anything that they have spent. This is the example. This is how severe it is. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees it. That if you give anything and want some recognition for that, whether it be from the ones who you gave it to or from others, you want others to say that you are a generous person. Right? There is a hadith, famous hadith, we all know that on the day of judgment, 3 people will be brought. One of them will be a person who was very generous. And he will say that, oh Allah, I gave for your sake, so you can be pleased with me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, no, you're lying. You gave لِيُقَالَ السَّخِيرُ, so that it could be said that you are generous. فَقَدْ قِيلَ, and that's been said. You wanted that in dunya, and now that's been said, and he will tell the angels, take this person and throw him into Jahannam. So sadaqah is one of those things that, because we're living in a world where wealth holds a lot of status, and a person who gives wealth, they can easily establish a status for themselves. That the fact that I'm giving wealth, that means I have wealth, I have power. But anything like that is extremely disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it leaves the deeds for that action just like that rock that is hit with the waterfall, and nothing else remains. It is back just as smooth as it was before. Allah gives another example. وَمَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. Those who spend their wealth truly for the sake of gaining Allah's pleasure. وَتَثْبِيتًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ كَمَثَلِ جَنَّةٍ is the example of a garden بِرَبْوَةٍ on a hill. أَصَابَهَا وَابِلٌ فَآتَتْ أُكُلَهَا ضِعْفَيْنِ. It is hit by a strong waterfall, and it starts to give double the yield than it was giving before. فَإِنْ لَمْ يُصِبْهَا وَابِلٌ فَطَلْ. Even if a heavy rainfall doesn't fall onto it, some rain still falls, and the person benefits through that in their garden. So where is the example? One is where who has a rock and completely cleaned as though nothing ever existed there. On the other side, this person has a garden where it's getting more water, and because of that, it's giving its yields are multiplied, giving more and more and more. That is the example of the rewards that a person gets from their spending when they have that pure and clear intention of it being for the sake of Allah. Another example Allah gives, the fourth one here. أيود أحدكم أن تكون له جنة من نخيل وأعناب تجري من تحتها الأنهار. Do any of you wish that you had a garden of dates and grapes and different fruits, meaning with streams flowing under it? له فيها من كل الثمرات. He has every type of fruits in that garden. وأصابها الكبر وله ذرية ضعفاء. This person reaches old age, they're not able to earn or work anymore. وله ذرية ضعفاء. He has children who are also incapable of working. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls them du'afa, they're weak. They're not able to make the efforts that are needed for them to earn for themselves. They are all living off of that garden that has every type of fruits, it's giving multiplied yields. After all of that, فَأَصَابَهَا إِعْصَارٌ فِيهِ نَارٌ فَاحْتَرَقَتْ. A heavy wind comes with a fire and it burns everything and leaves nothing behind. كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarifies, explains His ayat to you so that you could understand. This person had a garden and that is all they had. Not just for themselves but for their children as well. And yes, Allah, it could have been said that if this person did not have children who were in need of it as well, okay, the garden got destroyed, this person is old, he's going to pass away soon, it wouldn't be that much of a grief. But this person knows that my progeny, they are living off of this garden. They don't have anything else. And when that is destroyed, this person will feel like my lifelong efforts on this garden have gone to waste. Everything I've put into it now is gone. This is the example. A person, look, having the habit of showing off what one spends or reminding others of your favors, this isn't a one-off thing. A person who has this habit will do this all the time. Every time they donate, every time they give a sadaqah, every time they help someone, at some point in their life, in the future, they will come back to that point where they will try to tell someone else what they did to gain that recognition, or they will remind that person of what they did. If a person spends their entire life like this, spending day after day or month after month or year after year, and at the end of the day they have nothing, just like this person who had that garden and lost all of it. So preserving one's deeds in general is a very important concept, not just in spending. But when it comes to spending, it's a lot easier to lose the rewards that you've amassed for that. And the discussion goes on, but I think we'll keep it to that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it possible for us to be mindful of this. Especially in the month of Ramadan, where everyone is giving their zakat, they're giving donations, there are so many fundraisers going on, every masjid, every event. People are giving, whether in small amounts, in large amounts. It's very easy to get lost in this. And, when you put your hand up, you say, I want to donate this much. Be very careful of what your intention is. If you're raising your hand at that time so people can see you donate, so that they see that you are able to give, you are giving, then please keep your hand down. If you want to donate, by all means donate. Donate secretly. It comes further up in this discussion. This whole few pages is all about spending. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "In tubdu sadaqati fa ni'mahi." If you disclose, you openly give sadaqah, then it's good. It's still okay. Sadaqah itself is a good thing to do. But he says, وَإِن تُخْفُوهَا وَتُؤْتُوها الْفُقَرَاءَ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If you do it secretly, it's better for you. So, in things like fundraisers, be careful. Make sure you know what your intention is first. You are certain of that before you give. If you feel that there is any desire for recognition, especially if you're giving large amounts, right, $5,000, $10,000, you know that It's going to make you feel good. People will see that you gave this. That is an extremely dangerous feeling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates that feeling, and it will nullify all the reward from that thing. If you're giving a donation like that to a masjid, hoping for a continuous perpetual reward through sadaqah jariyah, you're not going to get a single thing if that intention is spoiled. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to truly implement this, act upon this, to make tawbah from any case in the past where we have had such intentions, and give us the ability to assure that in the future any spending we ever do is solely for His sake, to gain His pleasure, not for any material gain, any recognition, any name or fame. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.